Welcome to the Human Nature Channel. I'm your host, mtamsula, also known as Daddy Baby on Twitter. And what am I doing here? Well, it's Tuesday night once again here in my dad's old folks' home for farmers who don't know when to quit. There's a rocking chair by the front door. I rest my case. I wasn't sure I was going to do a video tonight because it turns out I'm kind of fatigued. I didn't sleep well last night. That was a funny situation. I went to bed around 12:30 and I was actually feeling pretty good about myself. I had spent the evening putting together the outline for the next day's video. I had over half of what I wanted to say on paper. I had the camera set up already. Lights were in position. So I'm figuring, okay, I'll get up tomorrow morning and after I have my coffee and watch some of my morning favorites, I'll just jump right into it, finish this video, come up with an ending, get it all done, put it out there. I'm like, yeah. And then I wake up at 2:30 in the morning. I'm in bed and I'm like, what is this? My head is spinning. I don't feel well. I'm not sick. I get up out of bed. It wasn't quite so bad when I was walking around. I'm like, well, rats. I'm awake. Whenever this happens in the past, I'll make myself a cup of green tea and drink that. It always puts me right out. So, yeah, there I was, drinking my tea, smoking a cigarette. I kind of look like this. I'm so bad. So anyway, I go back to bed. I fall asleep okay. But the next thing I know, I'm awake again, and I look over at the clock, and I see it's 5:30, and I say, oh, fuck, this will never do. I will myself back to sleep. I finally roll out of the sack at 8:15, and I feel like shit. I'm halfway tempted to get on the phone and call Dad and say, hey, Dad, I'm not coming up today. I'm not feeling good. You're going to have to do without me. And it turns out it wouldn't have mattered anyway because tomorrow Dad is going to an eye doctor's appointment. He's not even going to be around in the afternoon. I could have stayed home. I would have just worked on the video. But once I got some coffee in me and watched my morning favorites, I was feeling more normal. And I still had that video I wanted to finish. And that was all it took. It's like, okay, I'm into it. Let's get this done. Yeah. Unfortunately, because I was tired, I wasn't at 100%. Which meant I had a tougher time getting the long takes done than usual. I did this one long take. It was perfect until I get to the last sentence and then I choke on it. I'm like, I gotta do this all over. I did another long take and I was so confident this was it that I had already packed my camera away and put the lights away, and my camera tripod was in the trunk of my car. So I got the video in the editor and I'm watching and I'm like, this is good, this is good. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Where's that bit about S.I. Hayakawa the movie? Where I talk about it a little bit. I completely forgot. And it's like, oh. And I wanted that in. Went out to the car and got the tripod again. Okay, and you can fill in the rest. So I did this final long take, right? And it's good, and I'm like and I get to the end, and I forget my ending. It was, the endings I've been using in the last takes, and I just like totally blanked. And I'm sitting there like, I don't have an ending. I ended up saying, this is serious business, which it is, the world we live in, and language, because we live in turbulent times. People are taking to the streets, and it is language that is driving them. And it's how they process chunks of language, pre-packaged bits of language. It's how it goes through their heads, and they take to the streets. The funny thing is, the original ending was something like this. Okay. Chapter 1, Language and Survival. The central theme of this chapter is that humans' use of language is an evolutionary adaptation. And it's what the human race uses to survive. And that would have probably killed about 30 seconds, because the last video came in at 9 minutes and 32 seconds or something like that. And if I just remembered, I could have made that video 10 minutes long and satisfied that obsession of mine that demands that I put out videos 10 minutes long, and I'm always coming close, and sometimes I do it. And now I'm really starting to get silly. The tiredness is catching up with me. So what I have to say about chapter 1 of Language and Thought in Action, I will pick up back at the apartment. Boy, that rocking chair's starting to look pretty good right about now. See you back at my place. There you are. Picking up where we left off last time, S.I. Hayakawa was talking about that Niagara of words.
I say hello, pal, sort of friendly, and just because I say Niagara Falls, Niagara Falls!
Which is why on Twitter I only follow 97 people. I keep it what you could call a boutique experience. I could follow way more people on Twitter, I suppose. Get that number up over 1,000 if I put my mind to it. And pick up followers through reciprocity. But I'd just be opening myself up to that Niagara of words.
Niagara Falls!
Also known as data smog in some circles. On Twitter, I only follow the people I want to hear from. For example, I follow Lionel from Lionel Media. I follow the conservative military historian Victor Davis Hanson. I follow Nassim Nicholas Taleb, the Black Swan guy. I follow Tim Pool. Tim Pool does the news. I like his work. I think of all the alternative news guys out there, I would vote him the best. Politically, he's a milk fence toast sitter. Did I say that right? Okay, I want to get into a Tim Pool frame of mind here. Oh, that's nice and snug. Ooh, I may have discovered the secret to his success. Okay, let's complete the illusion here. Lately, Tim is quite down on Twitter. He says things like, Twitter is trash. Oh, Twitter is garbage. Harumph, I say. Well, if you follow 800 people on Twitter and 3/4 of them are nitwits, yeah, you might come to that conclusion. Now, to be fair to Tim, he does the news. It's his job to read the tweets of the blue checkmark people. If I followed 800 people on Twitter, I might feel the way he does. But I don't feel that way. My attitude is it depends on how you use it. I like to think I use it to my benefit. The Niagara of words, the ocean of language, isn't necessarily a bad thing. It is if it's propaganda, anonymous one-way communication with a message you don't question. People who produce propaganda are the scum of the earth, but fortunately that's just this island in our ocean. Consider face-to-face, two-way, non-anonymous communication. The best kind there is. Old SI likens communication as being a linking of human nervous systems. In the first chapter, he gives you this example. Imagine you're standing on the sidewalk and you're about ready to step off the curb onto the street when somebody over here shouts, "Watch out!" You hear what he says, you instinctively jump back, and Tim Pool on a skateboard zooms by. I mean, it was, neither of you saw it coming. You know, it was, you both had a close call. This guy over here saw the collision about to happen. Now, the amazing thing is, that's his observation. He gets it into your head. However, you haven't seen the threat yet. All you're doing is reacting to the warning and stepping back. You had, for the time being, SI tells us of this situation, the advantage of an extra nervous system in addition to your own. Which reminds me of a quote. Indeed, most of the time when we are listening to the noises people make, or looking at the black marks on paper that stand for such noises, we are drawing upon the experiences of others in order to make up for what we ourselves have missed. Now, obviously, the more we can make use of the nervous systems of others to supplement our own, the easier it is for us to survive. Yeah. We get to the topic in the middle of the chapter, which is the pooling of knowledge. And it's an amazing sort of thing when you really get into it. Because of these linked nervous systems, we can learn from each other. Happens on, say, the local level. I'm talking to a friend of mine. He tells me about a vaccination site that is near to where I live. I didn't even know about it. He fills in a gap in my information. So, fills in a gap in my knowledge, I should say. For a brief moment, our nervous systems are linked, and actually, when they come apart, we're more alike than we were before. So, there's that, but then you could say, like, Isaac Newton had been dead 300 years, but his formulations still got us to the moon. Einstein left us long ago, but he showed us the path to nuclear power. There's this quote at the beginning of chapter 1 from a man named James Harvey Robinson, and he says, civilization is little else than getting something for nothing. Language makes it possible. Before the internet, you had the library. We are able to offload our knowledge into libraries so we don't have to remember everything. We can go look it up. It's amazing. It's the foundation of civilization. And without language, we wouldn't have all this. The first topic that SI really covers in the chapter is cooperation, but he kind of has to set the stage for it. So what he does is he gives us a quick tour of evolution's first aspect. Now remember, he considers language an evolutionary adaptation. And evolution's second aspect is sexual selection, which is, SI touches on it, the peacock with the big blue tail, and he's been around a couple of seasons and all the peahens are just going nuts for him. He touches on that, but the first aspect of evolution is natural selection. And there's that infamous phrase, survival of the fittest, which unfortunately most people misunderstand. If you think it means bigger and stronger, well, it could. If bigger and stronger gives you an advantage in your environment, yes, but the way I've seen it described is actually fit is an economic term, and it has more to do with whether your foot fits in your shoe comfortably. The brown bunny in Arkansas will do better there than he will in Siberia. The white rabbit in Siberia will do better there than he will in Arkansas because of protective coloration. It's not necessarily bigger or stronger in this case, they're a good fit with their environment. Are you a good fit in your environment? If you are, you survive and thrive. But, and here comes the grand finale. Human beings are the talking animals. Any theory of human survival that leaves this fact out of account is no more scientific than would be a theory of beaver survival that failed to consider the interesting uses a beaver makes of its teeth and flat tail. Let us see what talking human communication means. Talking means linking nervous systems. Talking means cooperating. That is the message of the first chapter of Language and Thought in Action, Language and Survival. Just as a sidecar, man, this came as a little bit of a surprise. S.I. Hayakawa was something of a social justice warrior, but a 1990s version of it. He would see systemic racism, but he saw it in the language. He saw it kind of baked into the way we spoke. 1990 to 2021, we're 30 years later, we have raised our consciousness on these issues. I think we understand this now better than we did like back then. But you know what? I'm wondering, what would SI have said about Dr. Seuss? That's got me kind of curious, because feeling discrimination from an Asian's point of view is something he talks about later. What would he thought of those Dr. Seuss cartoons where he made a caricature of an Asian? I don't know. We'll be thinking about that. Have a good one.
I want my money.
What did that sign say?
25 miles to Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls. Slowly we turn.
Don't do that. No, not that.
Step by step. Inch by inch.